I want to make this video on something that I've been noticing a lot lately. Whether it's at the local food store, the movies, the restaurants, everywhere I go, I'm noticing that there are a lot of overweight black women around. And it seems as though it's a lot of younger, black women around, whether it's teenagers, women that are in their early 20s. Um, we seem to use phrases, like big boned, oh, she's thick. We sometimes don't know the difference between thick and plus size or overweight. We would say queen size, fat mama. But a lot of these terms, tend to mask the real issue of these black women being overweight. We want to blame it on the genes. We want to, it's genetics. You know, it's not genetics, it's not. It's the fact that we are eating too many high fat foods and we don't exercise. Every time I go to the gym and I see black people there, it's usually black men. Most of the time, I'm the only black female in the gym. And so I'm wondering, why is it that black women don't like to go to the gym? Why don't we like to exercise? Why are we so lazy when it comes to things like this? If I do notice, black women going to the gym, they would come for like 2 weeks and then I won't see them again for like another 4 months. It's like they stop and then they don't have that motivation there to continue to go on a daily basis. So, my question is, what exactly can we do to start encouraging these women to lose weight? Because this is disproportionately impacting black women of color, this weight issue. And for every 10 black women, there are like 6 black women that are overweight. And of those 6 black women, there are 4 black women that are obese. So this is really, really something that we need to take into consideration. There are healthy ways to lose weight. You don't have to go on crash diets or anything. But for all those women out there that, let's just say, you're afraid to go to the gym, you're embarrassed, and that's something that you're going to have to get over. Or some women out there may not have the money. And if you're wherever you're living, if it doesn't have a local gym, that's free, you can always get out there and walk. You can get out there and jog early mornings or, late afternoons. You can always exercise outside. Especially if you're trying to shed pounds, if you're trying to shed fat, you can always do those aerobic exercises like running, jogging, biking, those type of things. But one thing that we have to do, as black women, is we have to change change the way we eat, as far as our lifestyle. All the bad habits that we've built up over the years. We have to replace them with new healthy habits, and some of those will be eating smaller portions and more balanced meals. Don't skip meals. Avoid a lot of fried foods. Eat more grilled foods and baked foods because they have less saturated fat. Start eating earlier, in the evening. Avoid temptation foods. We are famous for buying junk foods. Why is it that, when we go to the grocery store, we pile all this junk food into the cart, all these high fat foods, these high sugar foods, and then, we may have like a can of corn, a can of green beans, which really isn't as healthy as fresh fruits and vegetables. I know that a lot of women cannot afford fresh foods because, eating healthy is really expensive. So if you're going to opt for, not being able to buy the fresh foods, the next thing that you would do is buy frozen foods, because frozen is like the second healthiest food next to fresh fruits and vegetables. And if you didn't want to do frozen foods, then you can do canned. But of course, I would recommend frozen foods, and they're not as expensive as the fresh ones either. Drink plenty of water. Cut out the sodas. Juice. You can do that as often as you can, but water is definitely healthier than juice. Try to drink at least 8 glasses of water a day. But even if you do change your eating habits, exercise is the most important component of losing weight, of trying to shed those pounds. This is an issue that is really hurting a lot of black women, because a lot of black women are dying on a daily basis from being overweight. So this is something that we really need to take into consideration.